Hey everyone, and welcome back to the VSO Gun Channel. It's great to be here as always. Thank you for tuning in. I just got back from Brownells. I was out there for GunCon out in Grinnell, Iowa. It was a fantastic event, and thank you to all of you who stopped by to say hi and talk to me at the event. It was great to meet you. That said, I literally just walked into my office, so I refreshed the Supreme Court's page, and here we have another decision. Now, this one is actually one that I have mixed feelings on. I want to know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below, but this has to do with presidential immunity. I think that a lot of people will have a fair amount of hypocritical opinions about this one. We're going to talk about it after we hear a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by XS Sites, and I've been using XS for almost a decade now. And I will admit that when I first started being introduced to XS Sites, I didn't get it. It wasn't until I took a force on force class that was a low light class that I was like, oh, there's no other site in the world. This is what we have to use. And I've been using them ever since. They got a whole bunch of profiles out there that will fit your needs. I personally use their big dot sites, and I wanted to bring to your guys' attention that today starts their Independence Day sale. It will run from today, July 1st, through the 8th. So make sure that you go out there and use that sale to great effect to stock up on your night sites. Special thanks to XS for making today's video possible. The case is Trump versus United States, and we're going to go to the summary because this is 119 pages. I have not had time to read it. I just browsed through the summary really quick, and what it says is a federal grand jury indicted former President Donald J. Trump on 4 counts of conduct that occurred during his presidency following the November 2020 election. The indictment alleged that after losing that election, Trump conspired to overturn it by spreading knowingly false claims of election fraud to obstruct the collecting, counting, and certifying of election results. Trump moved to dismiss the indictment based on presidential immunity, arguing that presidents have absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for actions performed within the outer perimeter of his official responsibilities, and that the indictment's allegations fell within the core of his official duties. The district court denied Trump's motion to dismiss, holding that former presidents do not possess federal criminal immunity for any acts. The D.C. Circuit affirmed. Both the district court and the D.C. Circuit declined to decide whether the indicted conduct involved official acts. Held. Under our constitutional structure of separation of powers, the nature of presidential powers entitles a former president to absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for acts within the conclusive and preclusive constitutional authority. And he is entitled to at least presumptive immunity from prosecution for all his official acts. There is no immunity for unofficial acts. This case is the first criminal prosecution in our nation's history of a former president for actions taken during his presidency. Determining whether and under what circumstances such prosecution may proceed requires careful assessment of the scope of presidential power under the Constitution. So to translate this for you, what the Supreme Court is saying is we're sending this back down to the lower court for them to figure out. And if a president is conducting himself in his official capacities as president of the United States, then even if it is a legitimately criminal act, then he's immune from prosecution in the doings of his duties. So to give you a couple examples of that, if the president lies under oath, but is protecting classified information by doing so, then in that instance, it is presumed that he has immunity from prosecution for that. But if he flies to a state where prostitution is illegal, for instance, bangs a prostitute, pays her, then that would be an act that he would not have immunity for. Unless, of course, he's willing to validate, and he's got people within the government to validate that she's a foreign source, a spy. Then I suppose that technically would fall inside of his official business. I'm not trying to draw any parallels, just to be completely clear. I'm not trying to draw any parallels to any ongoing litigation involving former President Donald Trump. I'm that just happened to be what popped into my sick, twisted brain. Now, they don't expressly lay that out here, at least as far as I know. I haven't read the entire document, but what they're saying is that there are things within the president's job that may require him to break the law as long as they are within the constitutional confines of his power, then he can do it. I think that a lot of Trump people may find this as a positive thing, but we have to uniformly apply logic in all circumstances. And the best way to figure out whether this is a good thing or a bad thing is you should always flip the script and see if you agree with it. So if you insert Joe Biden's name in here, for instance, would you be okay with that? And personally speaking, I would say that leaving it for a court to determine whether or not something is within his constitutional powers is a bit of a slippery slope. I think that we're going to be back up here at the Supreme Court to determine whether that court decided properly or not. But this is by no means over, because there's going to be a big shit fest over what's within his constitutional powers, what's not within his constitutional powers. Where does that line lie? This is actually a really important case, whether you like Trump or not, because I think this is a case that is going to be a boundary setter, because I think that there are some of the things that they're going to find are within his constitutional power and some of the things that are not. So it's interesting, and I will be following it because I'm very interested in checks on executive power. I think that if someone violates the law, then there should not be a double standard of justice. So I actually disagree with this to a strong degree, even though I don't particularly like Joe Biden, and I have been pretty vocal about my disdain for Donald Trump as well. I do not agree with this because I do not believe that we are unequal under the law. I think that we should be everybody should live under the exact same rules. And to set a separate standard for the President of the United States, I think is a dangerous place to be. Although I do understand why, for instance, in matters of national security, the president should be able to he should not be able to perjure himself, but he should be able to invoke his Fifth Amendment right, saying, I can't talk about that, or be able to say, I can't talk about that because it's classified. I think that every president should be able to do that sort of thing if it is legitimate. But I don't think that a president should be able to stand right up there and actively lie to you. As far as the circumstances of this case, I have no opinion whatsoever. This will be a precedent setter on where the line of presidential power is set. And I think that that line will be flirted with into the future for perpetuity. So this is one to watch. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys today. And hopefully I'll see you a little bit later today with my video from GunCon.